Welcome to the next episode of this season's Assistant on Air, where we're chatting with designers and developers who recently created some fun games for the Google Assistant smart displays. I'm Leon, and I'm your host for today. I'm a developer relations engineer for the Google Assistant. Today I'm talking with Richard, technical director at MediaMonks, who worked on two of our games, Cookie Detective and Junior Chef. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Leon, and thanks for this opportunity. You know, when you're working on projects like this, you're constantly looking ahead, focusing on the challenges. So it's great to be able to take some time and go over the highlights with you.
Yeah, it was certainly a fun project to work together. So, Richard, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I started programming back when 8-bit color was state of the art, and pixels had to be coaxed to the screen one by one, and a lot has changed since then. But I like it that way. So new tools and new tech to apply in exciting and creative ways. That's my thing. In 2018, I joined MediaMonks as a technical director. And before that, I did everything from game development to working with massive data sets. But being able to work with Google's voice tech is definitely one of the more fun experiences.
So that's great to hear. So Richard, tell us a little bit more about the games you worked on.
Yeah, Junior Chef is a game that puts you in the role of a chef in a restaurant kitchen. You have to tell cooks what to do in order to make sure that the recipes get executed properly and in time. So it's a fun way for kids to learn a bit about time management and planning ahead. And of course about cooking as well. And it could even inspire their parent who is maybe cooking dinner alongside them, because it features a variety of recipes from all over the world. Now, Cookie Detective challenges you to find a cookie which has hidden itself in the kitchen. And you have to do that by asking clever questions to narrow down the hiding spots.
Great. So it's good to hear, how you thought about the opportunities of using voice input in the game, because, a lot of developers don't have experience with voice design. Now, you were also one of the early developers who had access to some of our new tools, including the Actions Builder GUI and then later the Actions SDK. So can you talk to us about how you use those tools in the development of the games?
Yeah, sure. We started out by setting up everything in the new Action Builder UI to get familiar with the structure and terminology. But once we received the SDK, we immediately moved everything to the YAML files, and we started automating and scripting all the processes. This was also the way we were working with the old platform, and we really prefer having everything in code in the repository so that we can easily share it across the team, and so that it's versioned. So yeah, the SDK was really a breath of fresh air because it allowed us to very easily automate all these processes and use the configuration files to do everything. So it was a great time saver and a very welcome addition.
That's great to hear. So we knew the SDK was going to be a hit with developers because they can keep using their existing development tools and their existing processes. Now, let's dig into the conversational design a bit. Now, one of the main mechanisms for trying to understand what the user is trying to do is to use intents. Can you talk about how you design the intents and also how that helped to improve the speech biasing?
Yeah, that was an interesting challenge. And I like to think that we helped improve the platform a bit along the way there. Because due to the all the different ingredients and steps of the recipes in Junior Chef and all the different hiding spots and attributes of the hiding spots in Cookie Detective, there are an enormous amount of different inputs that the user can give. So it really wasn't an option to create an intent for every variant. So we decided to rely heavily on parameters. But as it turned out, that initially didn't play very well with the speech biasing. So we tried a few different approaches to tackle that. We added thousands of training phrases to each intent to get as many different variations in there as possible to help the speech biasing along. We even used the explicit speech biasing in the webhook. Although we later removed that when the automatic biasing was improved, but we did leave all the training phrases in.
Yeah, I must admit these games definitely helped us find some gaps in our speech biasing. So thank you for that. Now, there were some other interesting challenges as well. Given the capabilities of the hardware of the smart displays, what kind of design decisions did you have to make to ensure that the user experience is still good?
Well, you have two opposing forces, the memory capacity and the loading time. You want to preload your assets as much as possible so you don't have any stutters. But you always have to manage your memory. So we decided to, for the audio, because that is by far the largest amount of data, to go for a lazy loading approach. So all the recorded audio is loaded right before a scene starts and is released from memory again at the end of the scene. And for the visual assets and the animations, we just fetched all of that at the start of the game because that wasn't so much. And the available memory actually allowed having that in memory all the time. So yeah, to be honest, we could have gone a lot further in optimization there, but it wasn't really necessary.
It's great to hear that you could leverage some, common web optimization techniques in the games. Now, you were also an early tester of one of your new features called home storage, which is a way to store data across users and devices in the same home. So how did you use that in the games?
Well, eventually for everything. We started out thinking that we should only store the high scores there because you want to share those across a household, typically. But then we figured why not store everything in there, because users would also want to pick up a game that they left off in one room of the house in another room. On another device. So just storing all the user information and all the game history and the unlocks in the home storage allowed them to basically switch devices and continue where they left off. So, and who wouldn't want that?
Great. It's nice to hear how you considered how users would use the smart display devices in the home. By the way, there's a fun fact. The animals that we use for the users' names in the game is actually borrowed from the Google Docs team. They use that for the anonymous users. So thank you very much, Richard, for giving us the technical insight into the development of the games.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope we can inspire some of the viewers to go and build their own games and other creative applications for smart displays, because I think it's a medium with an enormous untapped potential, and it's unique in how it combines voice interaction with web capabilities and the accessibility of an appliance.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. If you want to try out the games we're highlighting in this season, check out the links below. Thanks for watching.